This is the 35th episode of the Effective Executive podcast and YouTube video. And this week, I thought I'd switch things up a little bit and talk about some of the statistics behind executives, whether you're a C level or maybe just a vice president in an organization, even a director of an organization. I think all these statistics will apply to you. And I want to make some commentary on some of these statistics too. So let me get started. And first of all, I started pulling statistics out just because I'm interested in these types of things, and hopefully you are too. From the book Decisive by Chip and Dan Heath. And I think it's a pretty good book. I'll put a link to it so that people can potentially purchase it. But there were a few statistics in there that caught my eye that I will share in this video. And there's also some other articles that I pulled some data out of that I think are significant. And I'll probably do these on occasion because one, I think they're interesting. It also tells you kind of how your organization and even yourself matches up against what other organizations are doing or other executives, what's happening to them. So one of the first statistics kind of got me on this whole thing was the turnover of C-level executives. And it has fluctuated between 12% and 18%. So if you can think through this a little bit, a C-level executive, 1 in 6 to 8 roughly executives, there's turnover in those particular C-level types of positions. And I don't know whether you think that's high or low. I'm not really going to make that commentary, just it is. And one of the statistics that goes along with that, and this comes out of the book Decisive, as a matter of fact, the next three come from the book Decisive, is 40% of executives are pushed out, they fail or quit within 18 months. Now, that to me is kind of a staggering statistic that you get somebody new into an executive position. And obviously a lot of the executive training that I'm involved with has to do with teaching you method. How do you actually create value for your organization, as opposed to some of the leadership things that are taught in organizations. They're going to teach you about empathy and communication, those types of things. Now, combine those two, these kind of leadership soft skills with real concrete hard skills, then I think you've got a complete executive. It's just that it's not my area in the soft skills, but that seems to be the focus of 95% of the training that you see out there on leadership, and that I see in organizations where corporate training areas will teach executives about those types of skills associated with communication, empathy, and kind of those types of things. But every system has to figure out how to bring in an executive. A lot of organizations, they're homegrown. Someone who maybe started in the company moved through the organization, and some of them they bring people from without the organization, from another organization, maybe a competitor, and bring them in. And my personal view is, it's better if someone knows about at least your industry or your particular organization, but that's not necessarily always true. And I see executives be successful or complete failures depending on which path that they took. And so a lot of what I'm focused in on is, how do I help that executive be successful and create value for the organization? Because if you're just doing empathy and, great communicator, he runs a great meeting, or she runs a great meeting, but your organization isn't working on the right things, then it doesn't really matter. And so it's a lot of my training is associated with trying to get people to work on the right things. And that there comes from the effective executive, right? Operational definition. If you're not familiar with it, go to my YouTube channel and look at my playlist, which is basically says start here, and I'll tell you the difference between an efficient and an effective executive. Now, also, another statistic out of this is that out of the book Decisive, 83% of merger and acquisition activities fail to create value for shareholder. And man, have I witnessed this throughout my life. Everybody's does these things for economies of scale or what a good partnership it's going to be. I mean, it's hilarious to me. What I usually see happening is organizations that try to achieve organic growth through mergers and acquisitions. And to me, they don't, that's not even a Venn diagram where the two pieces touch. They typically do not create value for either of the organizations. And I've been a part of or been in situations many, many times now where one organization buys another, and how do we, assimilate this organization, or do we assimilate? And there are those types of questions. Most people are looking for economies of scale, meaning, oh, well, you got a call center, I got a call center. We'll just have one call center and we'll get rid of 100 people. I don't know what the number, but typically it's the mindset is, well, the financial economy of scale that you get from merging two organizations, never find that to really bear fruit. That two different organizations, even if they're same industry and they were competitors, they serve different clients, and all of a sudden this system that bought something, or this organization, they try and fit this one that they bought into their system, and their clients don't like it because they were treated differently. There was a different system. So I agree with 83%. To be honest with you, I think that's low. I've never seen a merger that or an acquisition that went really well. Now I've heard rumors about you go to cocktail parties or something, and somebody will say, "Oh, we bought so and so company. Oh, they're great." Of course they have to say that, right? Another statistic from Decisive: 60% of executives reported bad decisions were as frequent as good decisions. So, and I don't know how that was measured or anything about that particular statistic. But that seems to be the randomness of not having an ability or a process that you go through in making decisions. No decision should ultimately be bad, in my mindset, which is, if you're setting up a system and your mindset is that it's a failure from the beginning, because there's so many things you don't know until after you make the decision. You start trying it out, and this is why I usually have organizations try things out on a small scale, because just making a decision and moving on from it makes zero sense to me. You're going to learn, you're going to make better decisions as you get more information, and you almost want to treat it like an experiment so that you follow up on it. What's the data telling us? How are customers reacting? Those types of things. And in order to get those types of data, you don't usually have some of those things available at your fingertips until much later. So you go with what you think might be good for an organization based on the data that you have, and then you learn. And then that decision becomes better and better over time. But this mindset of bad versus good decision, it doesn't fit neither my method or my mindset of that things are that black and white, that there's a scale of making a decision that you make better over a particular time. So another thing, executives, I'll just throw this as kind of a random one. This is from a different website, but 62 and a half hours is the average hours worked by an executive every week. So 40-hour work weeks, executives are putting in a lot more time. And whether I'm consulting with executives or when I was an executive, I find that to be very true. You're constantly, it's obsessive that you're constantly trying to think of ways to make your organization better. Otherwise, you're probably not in a position to be an executive. 19% of organizations say they are very effective at developing executives. Oh my God. And this is one of the reasons why I started the 95 method is if 1 in 5 organizations say that they're not very good or are good at effectively training or developing their executives, that's just mind boggling to me. I do think that you have to have training, education from without the organization. Some from that change and new perspectives is a lot of what executives need. So I'm just one person, but it seems like most organizations are going after the 95% of the training that's out there. Education programs are like I said, the soft skill type of things, and I don't think that completes the system of what you need in an education program. That you have to have methods or be taught methods in order to improve an organization. Now, here's another interesting statistic: 10,000 boomers, baby boomers, retire every day. That means we've got a whole new class of leadership that's coming in and filling some of these C-level and executive, executive positions. And, you know, more money is spent on leadership training than any other thing in an organization. And yet, like I said, 95% of it is all about, empathy and communication and things of that sort that are part of the picture, but it's not the whole picture. You need method in order to have a well-rounded education program. 71% of organizations don't feel executives can lead them into the future. I mean, that's scary too. And a lot of my methods, whether it's developing new perspectives through synthetic thinking, how does your organization think? How do you look at your organization through a customer lens? Using and identifying and using the right data within your organization, what I call executive data analytics, innovation, organizational design, all of the elements of the 95 method in essence will help you not only lead into the future, but it will help you develop this different set of skills that I think are completely missed as part of what people reference as leadership training. 83% of organizations say it is important to develop executives, but only 5% do it. And again, I'll put a link into some of the statistics out there and take a look at them yourself. But, if it's important and only 5% are doing it, it's 1 in 20. That makes really zero sense to me. How are you going about and developing your executives? And why is it ineffective? I can usually see why, because it seems to be very one-sided in soft skills as opposed to actually method that helps make help make an organization grow organically and come up with new thinking and new ideas. And I think that's a constant battle. Executives don't have time. I've got to go do operational things, or I got to do a spreadsheet, or I got to do this, I got to do that. But that's not some of the things that really make you effective. It's looking to the future and being able to say, all right, we need to innovate. We need to be proactive in that. We need to take a look at some of the numbers we have. Are we looking at the right things? And instead, a lot of executives spend way too much time micromanaging people below them. You need to do it this way. You need to do it that way. And, that doesn't lead the organization into the future. No matter what industry you're in. And I've worked with many, many different industries. Another statistic, only 18% of organizations say executives are very effective at meeting business goals. Oh my. Well, there's something, I think going after an aim as opposed to a particular goal makes more sense, because this gets into the mindset of, I don't start with a good or bad decision. I start with a decision and make it better over a particular time. I'm not against goals, but the question becomes, by what method will you achieve those goals? And this is where things start to fall apart, where I believe executives need to be educated in understanding methods to achieve those business goals. So anyway, those were a few statistics. I'll probably do this from time to time, maybe once a quarter or so. Find interesting statistics that are out there, but I think they're pretty representative of what I see out there, and some of the reasons for them vary. Whether it's 40% of executives pushed out, fail, or quit within 18 months or whatever. It's a combination of things. The hiring process. I get involved. I've gotten involved with that. That's not really my primary focus. Mine is more, once you got them in there, how do I help them create value for your organization once they've been hired? Now, some of that bleeds back into kind of what their mindset is, because you get different types of executives, just like anything else. Some are very no, I don't need any help. I'm an executive, or what I say goes, and those types of things. To yeah, I'm open to learning, and how do I educate myself in order to be more effective in the position and create value for the organization. And I think that those mindsets are very different, but you get a broad range of them. And there are things that executives know that I will never know, because they have really expert knowledge in a particular product or service. And I don't try to dismiss that. And then there are still methods that will help enable you as an executive to help you meet whatever business goals that you have or achieve the aim of the organization, therefore creating value for your organization.